Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moonride. This is Dave Johnson. I am channeling Man in the Moon today. It is still quite cold, as you can see, in Australia. So, y'all sweating it out there in the United States, you got my sympathy. This is just going to be basic psychic predictions. I don't have any particular agenda, although I can already feel like Russia on the line here. Um, Hopefully, they will not be mowing the lawn too loudly. Let's take a look. All right, so there's a sort of two curves sort of meeting each other, and it's almost like the curve of the universe is meeting the curve of the earth. I do want to point out one thing beyond the basic predictive stuff. There's just big changes going on in the universe. It is the case that the kind of the nature of human experience, this tells me it's shifting. It's just going in a new direction, a little bit like Dolores Cannon said. It's like a new world, right? It has this feeling, and in that sense, it's good. So, as we look forward, don't hesitate to and just recognize this. It's not all bad. Let's see. All right, so here's Putin. He's looking really angry, and he's got some like lots of smoke around him. And it's like things have been bombed in front of him, and he's like getting like smoke in his eyes. And he is just pounding his fist. He is so mad. This is very symbolic of sort of a type or a domination kind of complex, if you will, that we're seeing, in many different places. This kind of domination, world domination type. That's the significance of this. It's failing. Aha, okay, so I'm kind of seeing the whole history of Russia here. Like, there's the star of the, I guess it was like a red star for a while for the communists. I shouldn't say communists, as they're not real communists. They're, Stalinists, if you will. I'm seeing that kind of attempt to impose things on people. It's a non-freedom type of domination, and it comes from history. It's not modern in some ways. All right, so what's Russia gonna do? They're gonna give up. I tell you, I'm surprised to see this. I always believed that Ukraine would carry on, but this looks like a outright just loss. And it's very important for the world that this is a loss, that a small country can now get their drones to save the day. They're not that expensive, they're not that hard. Human life is at less risk. So, if this is true for them, why isn't it true for everyone? No, does any country really need the protection of the United States anymore? It has a bigger implication, and it's upsetting to conservatives in the United States of America because ultimately they wanted to make America just like Russia. And that's not working out. This was almost like Putin taking the sword and giving himself the sword, like falling on your sword. It was like unforced error, if you will, just a dumb. He would have been more powerful if he hadn't tried to invade Ukraine. He would have been all powerful for the rest of his life. This was a pointless venture. Here's a question about whether he will go into Poland or not. He says no, and Poland is being warned that he might do this, but Putin shakes his head and says no. I just don't think that there's the power, the willpower, the persuasion to do that. They would get rid of him if they could. That is, even the oligarchs are not happy with the way things are going. What do they care about Ukraine? They're really quite angry, and they are talking to each other to try to remove him. They're kind of just hoping he dies. and not unlike another group of people on the planet. Just maybe if he dies, then things will be better. But there's real chaos ahead because I'm seeing chaos, whether he's alive or not. It's like people are getting quite desperate. The whole point of it not being the Soviet Union was that people would be less desperate. They might not have more freedom, but they could at least eat. It's just a return to a sort of chaos. It's dangerous. Many of the soldiers have come back with some serious PTSD. Some of them were criminals beforehand. It's just dangerous. I'm seeing people running in the streets from crazy people. All right. It just has a feeling like it'll no longer be a threat. All right. So, and the European Union is sort of toasting itself. It's not only Ukraine. The European Union came through this time and they supported Ukraine in a way that it worked. We didn't go into World War III. It worked. So, it's kind of like the center left maybe is not so bad, right? Good. All right. So let's see. All right. So here's Donald. Oh, this is so significant. They're covering up the pillars on the portico of the White House, and Donald Trump means to change the columns from, I believe, Ionic columns to Corinthian columns. The Corinthian columns are the ones at the top, so they're just much, much fancier. This is insane that someone is going to change the way the White House looks, not just temporarily, but permanently, that he's going to do this. It's mind boggling that he's allowed to get away with this. And, somebody, of course, is going to have to change it back. Guess who's paying for that? But it's also symbolic. He's literally taking the things that the columns that hold the White House and he's breaking them and replacing them with his own columns, right? That is just absolutely appalling. And every Republican senator who's not stopping him they should be the ones paying for the repairs. It's just appalling that he would do this, but it's like, I'm like waiting for the front of the White House to collapse. I mean, I don't think that's literally going to happen, but it's just the idea that we would risk that, literally or symbolically. That's what's going on. It's like a building on fire, and nobody's admitting it. So in my vision, the White House is indeed on fire, and Trump comes out the front door, and he's sick to his stomach on the steps. Here's the thing: everybody's photographing him. Everybody can see what's going on. They can see the White House on fire behind him. And the reporters are like, oh my God, this is the story of a lifetime. And of course, they hate him because he's very rude to them. So there's Trump, and he's very sick, and then this nurse comes. The nurse tries to, help him and pick him up. Of course, he's rude to her. He's kind of a pathetic blob right now in the image I have. This is interesting. Somebody who's just shadow shows up and like walks him away. So we're not seeing really what's going on. There is somebody who's propping him up. I would say with medication. I'm seeing somebody with giving him an injection. The Trump that we are seeing is not the real Trump. It is an injected Trump. And he's really not functioning. He's kind of just stares out the window and um, has these sort of moments of sadness. I think that his emotional baggage just sort of shows up as emotions There's no clarity here. It's just, lots of sad, angry looking out the window. Nobody ever liked me anyway, kind of stuff. Mm. Yeah, he's not really even present most of the time. As he's like sort of staring out the window, it's like a boat shows up and he goes down the river and he's just in a different place. He is half in and half out. I would say that part of the time he's really sort of in the next world. He's not really present much of the time. And he does look very, very unhappy, very sad. The humanity in me actually feels sorry for him. You don't have to find the humanity in you to feel sorry for him if you don't want to. But it is important to recognize, all people are human. They all have feelings. We don't know how he became that. Anything else about him? People are leaving. It's like everybody's turning and leaving and they're going away. I would say that if they're not literally out of there, out of the White House, they are sort of virtually out of there. Like they may actually be finding new jobs. Some of them are maybe sticking around for the next presidency, the whoever becomes presidency. I should say whoever becomes president, which always seems to be Mark Rubio and not J.D. Vance. Man, is the Republican Party a mess? They're like head in their hands, worried and upset and frustrated. They know they're going to have a real problem ahead of them. Susan Collins is shaking her head and getting the feeling that she will not win. Um, McConnell's looking like he's left the planet. So I'm going to see him. McConnell, are you still present? Just barely. I would say that McConnell is probably not conscious right now. So there's another problem. Now, how are we gonna cobble the coalition together? Aha, there's starting to be defectors. There's just about to be some Republicans that say, that come out against the system that they created. And you'll be surprised which ones. Like Ron Johnson, one of my least favorite people, he might be one of the first people just to read the writing on the wall and to know that we have to, he has to, in order to survive, create a alternative path without pissing off the Trump supporters. What are you going to do there, Johnson? I'm going over here. That's what he says. I'm just going to go over here. Don't mind me, right? He's working hard to create some new alternative, central policy or kind of a weird branch of republicanism where he sometimes doesn't agree with them. What about the housing bill, Ron? You going to hope that get passed? He's not so sure about that. He's not going to go that far. But Republicans are really upset that he will not do the housing bill. It's just a perfect example of Trump caring only about himself. Because all these guys are going to lose. They're lining up to show me the losses. I'm getting the number 11. It might be that that's how big the numbers shift in the Senate. Are you guys senators? They're all looking really like, And I'm getting a really good impression of Platner. It's not just that he wins. He is sort of championing a new way. Now, he's not as left as AOC, for example. Let's just say he's not as progressive, perhaps, but maybe he is. Maybe he's just not showing up for everybody in that way. He seems like he's pretty left, and I'm surprised, like, at how well he's doing and leading. There's some people who are just waiting to see what happens, and then they'll fall in. The Democrats are trying to put together that coalition. Like, look, here's our scope. We can go from here to here, and we have to be in the same team, okay? And there's some agreement. There are some changes going on. I'm seeing AOC in a future where she has gray hair and she's still trucking, and I get the feeling that she does eventually get into a position of real importance. A lot of people rally around her. Okay, anything else you can tell me about the spirit of the Congress? Yeah, I just see a rising Democratic faction. Just it seems like it's bigger and bolder. Okay, what about the people of the United States and the world? Dramatic changes for the United States. Just dramatic changes. Everything is different. Political parties shifting. People looking at things in completely different ways. People finding work in different ways, connecting in different ways. I'd really encourage everyone just to be very open-minded. Whatever the problem is, just find a new way to do things, whether that is, connections and friends, whatever. Um, See if you can embrace new possibilities. The people of the world seem to be telling us, it's about time you guys figure this out. We have to suffer the consequences of when you guys do things. And, you know, while we have empathy, you guys got to get it together. It really affects everybody on the planet when, the Sea of Hormuz is now we have to pay a toll. That affects everyone, and it's going to affect everyone. And the estimation of the United States has decreased because they could not handle this. Perhaps because of the person they voted for, regardless. It's sort of like, maybe we need to go our own way. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Thanks so much for watching.